Hey, what's up? It is episode 87 of the Chasing Points podcast, and thanks for tuning in to another week to the podcast that gives you the most honest viewpoints on the week's hottest topics. What's up? My name is Sam. That's Brandon. Well, I'm pointing. You can't see me, but maybe soon. I don't know. What's up, Hayes? How are you, man?
I'm doing well. The reason why Sam sounds like he's fumbling on this intro is because it's new, if you haven't noticed, and it's hilarious because I just trying to keep my composure over here. But it's been 2 weeks in a row now, and I just can't stop.
It's muscle memory,
I can't
man.
stop laughing in my head.
Muscle memory. 85 episodes of saying the same shit, and now
it's switched up.
Start over again.
I am anxious, Sam. I'm anxious. How are you?
There's a lot going on in your world right now. I mean,
there sure is.
This pod, episode 87 of the Chasing Points podcast, is curated to Brandon. Now, you may
call Brandon's nightmare, question mark.
This whole podcast is just dedicated to your nightmares. Yeah, it's funny. You start a podcast because you want to do things your way. You want to give your point of view, and you want to kind of just share what you think would be a great experience. And I feel like we do that every week, tailored to ourselves and what our listeners we've come to learn our listeners like. And then it's this episode is just truly Brandon's nightmare.
So, also, real quick, since Sam texted me, I didn't say that I know people 10% better than the NFL. Let's just be very, very clear about that. I said I know 10 people that are better than Eli Apple. I said Eli Apple is the only person I'm talking about. Nobody else in the league, just Eli Apple. That's what I said.
I feel like you said 10%. And I also feel like even though we think Eli Apple is a scrub, he's still one of the better corners in the NFL. That's saying
no, the hell he's not. No, the hell he's not.
He is average at best. He is average at best.
Yeah, I'll go with the at best. Yeah, I will never ever die on that hill. No, I've watched him play too many times in New York and now with the Bengals. He is literally the definition of any basketball player when they get a call against them, or any football player and then they mess up and then they get something that is way over the head and then they put their hands out and they celebrate like they actually did something. That's Eli Apple every single time. Stop it. I will give Eli Apple his slander at all times.
I'm talking about his performance on the field, not his theatrics on the field.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about both. I'm talking about him as
Eli Apple fan.
Eli Apple can kick rocks. But anyway, let's get into some more important athletes here. Not Eli Apple.
The a lot going on. Obviously, we're gonna cover as much of it as we can get to, right? But NBA trade deadlines around the corner. The Super Bowl, of course, is only like 5 days from now. There's a lot going on, but it finally happened. Friday afternoon, Kyrie says he wants out of Brooklyn officially, or at least he said it again. And by Sunday afternoon, he was gone. Kyrie Irving and one of the Morris brothers traded to Dallas for former Net Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a first rounder, I believe unprotected in 2029, and 2 second rounders. And that happened pretty quickly. I know there were some other the Nets were hoping maybe some other teams would jump in on this and make it a much bigger deal. But at the end of the day, Kyrie got his wish, and probably much of Brooklyn got their wish, and Kyrie is out of town already. As we're recording, he's having his press conference in Dallas, and we'll react to that too. But Hayes, you are the resident Nets fan on this podcast, and I'll just give you the floor first here. Kyrie is no longer a Net.
It's pretty funny because Kyrie got traded to my old former favorite team, which is the Dallas Mavericks, who I left after they won a championship to follow Darren Williams to Brooklyn. And it's just funny how one of my favorite players in Kyrie is now traded there. He will always be one of my favorite players. That's something that I'll never, ever knock. To me, it's never been a question about Kyrie's talent. I think everybody knows that he is probably the most talented person we've ever seen handle a basketball in our whole entire life, period. The way that he moves with the ball, the things that he does, the way that he can dice up damn near any player is just magic. It's magical. I love seeing this. But as a Nets fan, I am okay with Kyrie being gone. It sucks losing that talent that I'm talking about, but what comes with that talent uh, on and off the court, whether you agree with it or not, uh, that is too much for me. I like to hear my guys just come to work, do what they got to do, and you don't really hear too much about them. I like hearing a boring ass team, Sam. I like a team that I don't hear too much about any damn person on the team. That is my flavor. That is my favorite thing. But that's not the case with Kyrie, and a lot has to do with things that follow him, from the flat earther theory to not taking the COVID shot, to the posting the movie that had anti-Semitic tropes in it, so on and so forth. Right? It does seem like there is a target on his back. I cannot deny that aspect of it. It does feel like anything that he does, he is prime real estate for them to talk about. Can you say that he's at fault for that? In times, yes, because you're giving people bulletin board material, you're giving them media, and they're going to cling on to everything that you say. And I think at some part of him, well, actually, a good part of him knows that this is what's going to happen, because he's not a dummy. He's a very smart individual. So he knows what's going to come with this. But I think in return of what, because one of the questions Sam has here is who won. I think that is to be determined on both sides. I can't really say that the Nets won, because all that the Nets gave up and cleared to get Kyrie along with KD, because all along, all they wanted was KD. They never really wanted Kyrie, but that was a package deal because of KD. So, of course, you're going to do whatever you can do to get KD on your team. They also went out and got James Harden. There's a lot of picks that were given away, solid players traded away. You got Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie was a part of this. So like there was a bunch of pieces that were moved a part of this. And Sam, you and I talked about it on this podcast, is like, damn, is this another Billy King whole incident that's going on here? Like you didn't learn from that. Like, what are we doing? So for me, I think the verdict is still out, because we don't know how Luka and Kyrie are going to play together, which we're going to get a little bit further into. And we don't know if Spencer Dinwiddie is going to even stay, because from what I've heard is the Nets aren't done. And I'm sure they're having conversations with KD about what they want, and they're trying to keep KD there at all costs. And I know they're looking at Toronto, because everybody's looking at Toronto. And I've heard Fred VanVleet, tongue twister, pop up in this rumor, OG Anunoby, Siakam. So I know they're going to try to get somebody else. Does it happen? I don't know, because I don't think they really care about those picks. If they can keep KD and build around him with other, I think they can still build something great. But you can't ever replace a talent like Kyrie. So, Sam, I really don't know who won this.
Yeah, that was just, a talking point there. I mean, obviously, the talent that Kyrie has, and we've even seen it, especially with KD not on the floor the last 3 weeks now.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been all world. I mean, you're seeing why people put up with all of this.
yeah.
And he's truly, you mentioned it, the ball hand. I've never seen a better ball handler. I don't know. I don't watch as much basketball as you. I haven't watched as long as you, but
take my word.
He's
truly, nobody like him.
He's truly special, penetrating getting to the glass, all of it. He is a special talent, and he nailed one of the biggest shots in NBA history too. So, it's all part of the package there. It's kind of wild that with how everything has unfolded, that they even got anything for him. I mean, yeah, I think I will disagree with your points of, I think most of this with Kyrie, and you kind of said that, I think most of it's self-inflicted. He's not a dummy, but he also act surprised that the media reacts to whatever he does or says, like he's not going to believe, like how, naive or ignorant are you going to be? And
Kyrie
I
likes to
think,
be the villain.
yeah,
Let's just
it's
keep it
like
a buck.
the,
He
yeah,
relishes being the villain.
the villain, the victim. It got old quick. I mean, how many teams is he going to just implode on the way out, kind of
I don't
thing?
know.
I mean, we saw him in Cleveland quickly get, out of there and gave up on a final, a semifinal team in Boston. Where was that, the semifinals? I think it was semifinals, right? Or he just kind of like
I don't even remember
didn't
what he
punch
did
in.
because it was so damn quick
Yeah,
that he was there.
it said he was going to stay in Boston and then just
Hmm.
got the hell out of there. Um, so I have no sympathy for him. I laugh when he says, he was saying in his press conference, we were listening to a bit of it before we hit record here, that he finally feels welcome or something like that. Dude, you said before Steve Nash was hired, we don't need a coach. We could coach ourselves. You and your friend Kevin Durant, who stood at least publicly quiet behind everything you did, ran this team
Yep.
to a detriment at
Yep.
points. I mean, you've seen it. Every team LeBron has quote unquote ever been behind, like it falls apart. The trades that these guys want to make, and they don't care about the long-term success of these teams. Obviously, Kevin Durant's got 4 years left on his contract, 3 years left, and he's already dictating where he wants to go. This is like, we talk about the player empowerment era and all of this, but it's like what are we doing? You kind of just look. I'm all for players expressing their freedom, expressing their personality, playing where they want to play. But like, Katie, you have 3.5 years left on your deal. You're going to leverage yourself out of Brooklyn now. If I were him, I would. This thing's falling apart fast. And it's so ironic because before Katie and Kyrie joined this team, it was, hey, look at what Sean Marks has built coming out of the Billy King era, building a culture, building a community, putting their stamp on Brooklyn. Finally, Prokhorov's out of the picture. You got you're building an actual team here. You're not chasing stars. And then, yes, you get Katie, you have to get Kyrie, you have to get DeAndre. With that, I get it. But just the what you had to give up for Harden, and you mentioned all the great players, and you gutted this team so many different times. Now you're just to be able to recoup anything for Kyrie is impressive, let alone, two pretty good players. I really like Finney Smith,
I do
just a
too.
really good
That's the best
perimeter
part
D
of it
guy.
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that pick could be interesting if Luka's not in Dallas in a couple years, but um, that Finney Smith is the centerpiece of this deal. He's got a couple years left. Really good 3-and-D guy, perimeter guy. I
Well,
think he will definitely help.
I'm going to
But
take a chance and go back to something you said about KD. If I was KD, I would leave right now. I don't think KD is going to leave anywhere until he sees what is going to happen
that's
at
fair
this
too.
trade deadline. And I think he doesn't get moved until he doesn't if he leaves, it's during the offseason. Is depending on what they do in this before the trade deadline is going to tell KD a lot, because one of the people KD wanted gone was who? Sean Marks. He wanted Steve Nash gone, and he wanted Sean Marks gone. All right. So do not be surprised if he asks for a trade or it's quiet this offseason and he says, listen, I said I wanted Sean Marks gone. He didn't do the things that I wanted him to do. Like, I want him gone. So I think the first thing that we have to see is what do the Nets do? Because I don't believe they're done. Well, they've already shown that they're not done with the reports that they said they were openly not done and are looking to make it a 3-team trade when it came to this Kyrie thing, because it's not technically official yet. Even though Kyrie's down there and he's with them, they're still trying to do and acquire some more talent. So if they can get a OG, if they can get a Fred VanVleet, if they can get a Pascal Siakam, that would be huge, because they're going to need height in the East to compete against the Giannis's of the world, and then also the Celtics, right? And the Sixers are no slouch either as what they do, even though I still think they're going to choke. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm very, very intrigued of how Kyrie and Luka play, because Kyrie is a ball dominant guard and Luka is a ball dominant player. And Luka is more, he's technically a shooting guard, small forward. Um, but he normally commands the ball and holds the ball throughout a majority of the possession. The majority of the 24-second clock, he holds the ball. So how that plays out, I'm sure they'll figure it out. But it's going to be interesting. And they're saying that he's looking to sign an extension. I don't believe that for not a damn second, Sam. I'm going to tell you this right now.
That's
where he wants to be is with the Lakers. And all he has to do is finish out this year with the Mavs. And then he can go to the Lakers where he wants to be, because he wants to be Kobe so goddamn bad.
Okay, I never got that impression, but I trust you.
You never got it? Here, I'll break it down for you. When Kobe passed and his sneaker line was going to go under with Nike, you know who said he wanted to be the face and take it over? Kyrie. You know Kyrie and Kobe's relationship. When Kyrie won the championship in Cleveland, you know the first person he called? Kobe. You know the relationship, if you've ever seen and watched during the Olympic team of Kyrie going against and talking smack to Kobe and all that. He looked up to Kobe. Kobe was his idol nonstop. This is who he did. He was so closely connected to. And to go there is, I feel he feels it's a part of him to carry his legacy on.
And okay, so to that, just playing the other end of this right now, like LeBron and Jordan. LeBron has mirrored Jordan, Kobe and Jordan. How come we don't give these guys?
Did LeBron go to Chicago to play with the Bulls?
Well, no. I mean,
did LeBron say he wanted to take over Jordan's line?
No. I don't think so, but they
didn't.
You cannot deny the parallels that both of those guys have to Michael Jordan, that they have publicly expressed over their careers, that they both emulated and wanted to be Michael Jordan, and no one gives them
who didn't
about that. Right, of course. And to this generation, it was Kobe, not even as much LeBron, and the next generation is going to be Steph. It's just how this works. But I won't give Kyrie flack for wanting to be Kobe Bryant. I think the entire league wants.
But your point of what you just said makes no sense to what I just said. I just said that Kyrie tried to take over Kobe's line and wants to carry his legacy by going to the Lakers and picking it up.
All these guys feel more important than they are, and the Joe Tsais of the world and Sean Marks and everyone else gives them that entitlement to feel like they're bigger than they are. And this is a experiment. This is a case study that sports will always have here. Like, how come Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving could not work? How come this whole Brooklyn experiment from 2019 to 2022 or whatever the years were could not work? It's going to be one of those things. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying it like he wanted to take over Kobe's shoe line, okay, okay, that's not going to happen. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
but the egos, the egos are all there.
That was not what we're not talking about the egos. I think we're missing each other, or you're missing what I'm saying here. You brought in LeBron and Kobe trying to emulate Jordan.
Well, because you just said he wants to be LeBron and Kobe try to emulate Jordan. To be Kobe so damn bad.
Okay, and then I gave you the point that LeBron and Kobe didn't try to take over Jordan's line. They didn't go to Chicago and try to pick up the legacy from there. Kyrie is the one that is doing that. Those two players that you brought to make an example to play devil's advocate didn't do what I just said Kyrie has done. So there is a major difference there. He may still look up to Kobe, just like Kobe and Jordan and LeBron looked up to Jordan, but they didn't take those steps that I just said that Kyrie has taken.
Well, those are public steps that we know of, but yeah, I don't think either of them have the ego that Kyrie clearly has, or that feeling that I could do this. no one in the right mind, living or not, would go and say, "Hey, I'm going to take over MJ or Kobe's line." If
Yeah,
Kobe
yeah.
was God bless him, if he was still on this earth, that wouldn't happen. If he wasn't on this earth as he is, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So
Kobe
it's
was too
kind of a moot
competitive.
point. Yeah,
He's too competitive to want to do that.
no, dude, Bill, it's just
He wore Jordans in the beginning of his career and then was like, okay, now it's time for my stuff. And
yeah, of
then he
course,
went and had his own line, which is extremely successful, even to the point postpartum.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll table that. I don't know. I think what we're in similar parallels here. It's not as important, obviously. I'm supposed to be the Kyrie hater on this podcast.
I'm not a Kyrie hater. I'm just speaking the truths that people may not know about it because you've
I'm
said
supposed to be
about
the
me being
Kyrie hater.
basketball. That's, this is what I do. I love basketball. So I'll speak the truth
Anyway,
out here.
so you mentioned the Lakers, and we'll get to that in a second. Luka, and you touched on this as well, though. I kind of look at this as an extreme move for Dallas to give up what they did. Now, obviously, there was competition for this pick, whether you believe that the Suns or the Clippers were other teams involved, or the Heat maybe to a degree to get KD and all this other stuff going on. But Dallas had to pony up a little bit to make this work. Do you think Luka and Kyrie will ultimately work? Because it just kind of reeks as a desperation move to me. I think you know Dallas has not done a great job of, despite making it to the semifinals last year, haven't done really a great job of supporting Luka and this team. They tried it with Porzingis, it didn't really work, um, and that wasn't. We could have told you that wasn't going to work, but what are your thoughts on this new dynamic duo? If
Well,
you
I've
will,
already said that it's not going to, I don't know how it's going to work because Luca holds the ball for as long as he does. But they both don't play defense. So
yeah,
you can score all the points that you want. Wasn't that the same issue in Brooklyn when under Steve Nash? Is that you play great offense, but you have no defense, right? So who's going to play defense? You're losing Dinwiddie. You're losing Finney Smith. You're losing defense right there. You're losing guys that actually play on ball and try to do that. So yes, you're getting another amazing, prolific offensive player, superstar, but where's the defense going to come from?
yeah,
Who
great
knows?
question.
So I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. They do have Jason Kidd as their head coach, and Jason Kidd is one of the best defensive players ever. So I don't think he's just going to allow, that to happen and he'll game planning because he's actually a really, really solid coach. Uh, but I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm sitting here with everybody else. My guess is they're not going to even get out of the first round if they make it to the playoffs. That's going to be my prediction.
Yeah, I agree with you. And any uh any talk of Kyrie doing anything is just a joke. It's a fool's errand. It's not worth the time. Obviously, he's going to have the ability to go where he wants to go, or the best offer for him, and that clearly will probably be the Lakers, especially with the cap. The Russ Westbrook money coming off the cap this year, so
Mm-hmm.
kind of lands the opening. So back to the Lakers there. Josiah was, reports saying that he's basically not gonna give, even if the Laker deal was a better deal for them, he was not going to
Yeah, I
give
don't blame him.
Kyrie give Kyrie the benefit of going where he wants to go. And I don't blame him either with that. I think the I'd rather have this Dallas deal than any reported deal from the Lakers, which obviously those draft picks that were in question 27, 29 are going to be coveted because that's at least 4 to 6 years from now. LeBron will not be on this team. If
Mm-hmm.
he's even in the league, he'll be up to 42. And AD, it's been very well chronicled on this podcast, Anthony Davis's recent career. So those are certainly coveted assets there, but the Lakers are left on the outside looking in as far as upgrading with very little assets here. And I don't blame Josiah at all for saying no to that. It's a pretty petty move, but he's had to endure a lot of pettiness too, so I don't really disagree with it.
He's a businessman. At the end of the day, when you're the owner, you can make the moves that you want to make at any point in time. And if you don't want to send it, Kyrie can demand a trade. The owner and GM can trade you and honor that, but to wherever they want to trade you to. So it's just it's part of the game. So it is what it is with that one. I wouldn't have, if I was him, I wouldn't have done it either. I would have been like, yeah, we'll send you to wherever you go. But also the haul that they were getting back from the Lakers was not the same as
No.
what they were getting from Dallas. So I would take which the better deal is. I honestly, if I'm getting rid of you, I'm gonna try to get the most I can for you. So, and it seems like the Mavericks deal was probably the best deal that they had on the table, at least that we've seen. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you just mentioned that Dallas, maybe being one and done in the playoffs if they, if so, but I don't see this Nets team going as far as I did before, but I think these pieces are certainly helpful. There's, one thing that this Nets team needs, and we've talked about aside from a big guy, is some depth, even though they have some good shooters and whatnot. I just don't see the, long term is, or at least the end of the season, this really working out. But it's interesting. They're in fourth place, right? And they just, it implodes. But that leads us to the trade deadline is well, when you're listening to this, it's tomorrow, Thursday, the 9th. A lot of questions to be answered again. Pretty much, you mentioned a lot of the Raptors. I'd have to imagine everyone on that Toronto team is available except for Scotty Barnes. You have, are the Wizards what are they going to do with Kuzma? John Collins, reportedly the Hawks kind of stepped down their asking price for John Collins after not getting much there. What are the Knicks going to do? Quickly's been in some trade rumors. There was some OG stuff with the Knicks and some other teams. It'd be really interesting to see what happens there. Obi Toppin and whatnot. So you're just basic first impressions of the trade deadline, and I'd have to imagine this is unless KD gets moved, this is the biggest move that we're going to see. But anything you're gonna prognosticate towards or do your Nostra Haze?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
One, KD's not getting moved. That's a guarantee. One, he's not getting moved. Two, the Raptors are going to look completely different because I see a lot of people moving out of there. I don't know where. I really feel like Fred VanVleet is really coming to Brooklyn. And it's not just because I want it. I think it's because KD has a love for Fred. So I think that might be something that happens. I don't know where Kuz goes, honestly. He's like the most interesting one in this trade deadline because he's garnering so much attention right now. And I really, the only time I really pay attention to Kuzma is with his walk-in outfits. That's the most that I've known. Like, I thought Kuzma basically went to the Wizards and then died there. He didn't impress me when he was really with the Lakers at all. And anybody that I was looking at when he was a part of those teams is Brandon Ingram, not him. So I'm curious with that. The John Collins situation, since that has soured a long time ago with him and Trae Young, he's 100% gone, in my opinion. I think he might go to a West Coast team. Bojan, whatever team needs a shooter. So I wouldn't be surprised the Lakers actually try to get Bojan.
Bogdanovich, yeah.
Yep. Somehow, some way. Emmanuel Quickly, I don't know if he gets moved, to be honest. I think he stays. If I'm a team, I'm looking at these players, though. I'm looking at Gary Trent Jr. I'm looking at Karis LeVert. I'm looking at Malik Beasley. Those are the players that I'm looking at 100%. And Buddy Hield. I'm sorry that I looked right over Buddy Hield. I 100% would be looking at them, and then also Jordan Clarkson too, because those guys are good off the bench guys. They can spruce up that second unit of their team. So when there's no let off, Jordan Clark brings offense. Gary Trent is a two-way player, a great young two-way player, which I absolutely enjoy his game. Karras, I have a major love for Karras, especially with all that he's gone through too. He can score with the best of them. You haven't really heard much about him in Cleveland, which is unfortunate. Buddy Hield is getting a little bit older, but he's a good wing. Malik Beasley, a guard, he's solid. I think he's super underrated. But yeah, I don't know where these people go because there's just too many factors here. But I definitely, out of those players, everybody's going there. I'm not talking about the obvious names in like OG and Fred and Pascal, because I think those are the top three. But these are the players that I definitely could see doing something really, really good for a team that's in the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a lot of players there, but a lot of them were with the Utah Jazz, and there's a lot of rumors going around now that whether it's Mike Conley or Clarkson, as you mentioned, or even Jared Vanderbilt, that they may be on the move there from Salt Lake there. So we'll have a lot to report back on as again the trade deadline. I think it's like 4 or 5 o'clock Eastern on Thursday or 6 o'clock. I don't know. Thursday afternoon, the 9th, is the NBA trade deadline. So we'll keep you updated as that. And before we get to that football game that's happening at the end of the week, we have to mention a couple other news items in the NBA. The big one here, LeBron James is closing in on the all-time scoring record. He had 27 points the other day on Saturday. So he is 35 points shy of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record of 38,387. So he needs 35 points. He's playing Oklahoma City as we're recording this now. So this is from 538. Some stats here. He's scored at least 35 points in 11 of 43 games this year. So that's about 26%. So obviously there's a decent shot of him doing it tonight, and you have to imagine it's on his mind. But the really intriguing one is Thursday when they play Milwaukee. I don't know if the game is in Milwaukee or it's in LA, but the ties there are crazy because Kareem obviously started his career with the Bucks. So it's just a wild week, and I know you brought up to the off air that the ticket prices there as high as we saw $65,000 for this game, and for tonight's game, right? The Oklahoma City game. Like that's just or is that the Milwaukee game? Either way, that's wild, dude. A lot of money to see LeBron do something that only one person has done in NBA history.
Yeah, that's for tonight's game, and that's courtside.
Okay.
So I feel bad for whoever is paying that because they're not going to see him get the record tonight. I 100% believe that he'll get the record against Milwaukee. A, because it's Kareem's old team, as you mentioned. B, it's against Giannis. C, it's on national TV. LeBron is a showman. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, yeah.
LeBron is a showman. So do not be surprised if LeBron starts getting in the high 20s and starts passing the ball more. He is a passer first, so that wouldn't be out of the norm. But do not be surprised if LeBron does that.
He's also, going to want to win this basketball game.
Of course.
Obviously.
Of course.
That goes without being said. So, if there's a situation, it is the Thunder, but these aren't the Lakers that we would see on paper. This team's not performing the way that expectations would have it. So be interesting to see there. Yeah, that's a lot of money. I can't see paying that for something so uncertain, but
obviously whoever had that money
or
whoever's paying for that has got the money, so I think they're fine. They're more than fine.
Obviously, that's
probably like
some
pocket
people's
change
salary. Yeah. So kudos to LeBron. This not only just shows off his longevity. Obviously, he's been in this league since he was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's 38 now. So not only the longevity, but just, he's missed, some games lately in the last few years than in the past. But, this is not just this is about being, an all-time great and being a just a scorer. He's a lot of things. He's a scorer, he's a passer, he's,
He's a runner. He's a
when
track star.
yes, when you need to turn it on, there's no one that does better. And at 38 years old, it's certainly impressive, and we'll certainly have a lot of time to reflect back on LeBron when that career is over. But this is a big deal in the NBA for sure.
Before we move on to the next thing,
Yeah,
I've in recent months I've sat with myself and thought about this.
you just sit in the corner, have some
No, I just
light
sit on the
jazz
couch and
music
just
on.
stare at the ceiling and then just let my thoughts come to me.
Yeah.
Uh, LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Ooh.
That hurts me because Michael Jordan is my hands down favorite basketball player of all time and was my argument for the longest. But LeBron is about to break the record for the most points by an NBA player. And his career is still not done. He's fourth on the assist list. He has the most clutch shots in NBA history. Now, people have said, you remember the beginning of his career, free throw line. I'm sure you remember watching it, Sam. Bron missing free throws. It was a narrative that they ran and drove into the ground. Statistically, I don't know if you saw JJ Redick's blurb, but he said on a podcast and read out the stats, and I went to read them myself because I couldn't believe it. LeBron has the most clutch shots in NBA history. In the fourth quarter and last few minutes, it's LeBron. Second is Kobe. This man has literally done anything and everything. He's a freak athlete that could have probably played any damn sport that he wanted to play, but he decided to play basketball. And he's really, really good at that. He's also a young man that, and I'm saying a young man like he's not older than me, but he's also a young man that had the pressures of the world when he was in high school to live up to being the chosen one, the king, and has never dropped that torch once. Has been the face of the NBA for what now, 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Has been the face of the NBA for 20 years, has not dropped that torch. Has won in the Olympics, has failures in the Olympics, has won in the Olympics, right? Never did the dunk contest, which I'm still pissed off about. But he's won and continues to win, has got 5 rings now, 4 rings, excuse me. I think 4.
Yep.
4.
I mean, he's been to 9 straight finals.
Correct. Correct. Which is crazy in itself. I mean, we praise Patrick Mahomes for going to 5
title
AFC.
games.
Yeah. So LeBron went to 9 finals in a row. No other player has done that. Yes, he hasn't won all of them. We know that Jordan won, had 2 3-peats in a row to go. But it's hard for me to not say LeBron is not that guy. It's impossible for me to argue that statement any longer. I won't argue it. He is the greatest basketball player ever. And if I hear anybody argue that LeBron James had more time in the league and it took him longer to do this is not LeBron's fault that he plays in what I believe a more athletic league.
Oh, I don't think anyone would question that. Yeah.
Right. It's completely different night and day, the talent that there is spread across this league. And we do not have a sure dominant factor in any team when you knew that Chicago Bulls, every time they step on a court every season with Jordan and Pippen and Rodman, that they were going to probably win the championship. Every year in the NBA, you have no idea who's going to win now because there's so much talent. And he's done that with all this. I don't want to hear about how long he's been in there because the man has taken care of his body. It's not his fault that other players, other amazing superstars, Hall of Famers, their bodies deteriorated too early in their career. That's not his problem. He spends money back into his body to make sure that he stays there. Look at Tom Brady, who just retired, which sure we'll talk about too. But we have this here, and I just got to give him his flowers while he's here. So LeBron, I salute you. You are the greatest basketball player ever.
Period. I think I've wrestled with this. Obviously, we saw the tail end of Jordan's career, at least, and in retrospect, we know a lot about Michael Jordan, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't experience, we were very young. We did have the benefit of seeing LeBron on the cover of SI at 15, being as you mentioned, the chosen one. How many number one overall picks? How many quote unquote chosen ones have there been since Jordan that have completely crumbled? Under that pressure? That's amazing. I think the knocks on LeBron when you make this comparison, without a doubt, the first one is Jordan never lost the finals. Okay. And the second thing is, in my opinion, at least, I think the new NBA culture, or that, as we mentioned, the player empowerment stuff, I think that I look at that like, man, really? You got to be on 3 teams, or at least 4 different teams. Like, I get it. You want to win, right? You certainly, he had more than enough time in Cleveland to try to get that team to build around him, and it didn't work. So he was like, all right, I'm going to go do it myself with my friends, and we're going to do this. And that didn't, 2 out of 4 championships, that's nothing to
Can I say something to that point?
Yo,
I don't want to loom here for too long, but I do.
Yeah, this is certainly something I'd like to revisit at some point.
But the argument, which I used to make that argument, but the argument of saying LeBron left to go do it with another team, and he did it with his friends, and people knock him for that. Take a second and think about your own life. You work at a job, right? Your job that you work at, or any job that you work at that you've left, right? Think about what happened while you were there at that job. You tried to excel, maybe get to another level in that job, and you were shut down, weren't given the opportunity to grow. You gonna just sit there and stay there your whole life and say, you know what, I'm gonna suck this up. I'll be able to get to the next step. They're gonna see me. I'm gonna keep putting in work, and they're gonna do that. It doesn't work like that. So sometimes you have to move to another job for them to see the talent that you have for you to take the next step in your life. Think of this on the scale of what LeBron did in his own career. It's equivalent. It's something that you've probably done in your whole entire life. Anyway, if you didn't have a career, go to college, or even prior to that, if you worked any minimum wage or any average job, technically, and not a career, you looked and you saw the value of what they saw you at through their eyes, and you knew the value that you had. And when you knew that they didn't see the value that you had, and you weren't able to get to that next level after all the hard work that you put in, did you stay there, or did you go somewhere else that you thought that you could be valued and win there? That's the way I look at it now.
Yeah. And I did preface it by saying he spent a hell of a long time in Cleveland, his hometown, and think of the pressure of that alone, and then everything else that I mentioned. And he was there for a long time.
He was.
They made some really bad moves, and he never really had a running mate. And they made bad moves. He helped them make bad moves. But at the end of the day, they, that, and I kind of alluded to it with Luka. It's been 4 or 5 years, 5 or 6 years with Luka now, and it's like there's, the best player he's had on that team with him is no longer there. It's probably Jalen Brunson in hindsight. And that's a mistake in hindsight. They didn't want to pay him. They could have gotten him for a lot less than the Knicks got him. It didn't sound like he really wanted to even leave Dallas. But so it's a similar thing. I don't necessarily fault the Heat thing. I think it would be remembered a little differently. And I think even the decision is
I think that's the part that's the part that
that's
amplified it all. I don't think if there was a decision, I don't think it would be as scrutinized as it was. I think if it was just, hey, listen, just like anybody else that's done in free agency, like I'm just going
yeah, I think
to
that would
wherever.
totally, the irony of it was that this was a TV special and he
Yeah.
gave a ton of money to the Boys
Yeah.
and Girls
Yeah.
Club,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is just it
Never
is the
spoken about.
irony. Yeah,
Yep.
it's never mentioned. I mean, it gets a bad rap. Obviously it was a pivotal moment in sports history, but yeah, I mean, we'll table this discussion because it's I don't disagree, but got a lot to get to today. It's speaking of another, I mean, young talent in this league, but a disturbing story popping up in what did this happen in Memphis or in Indiana? That
Happened in Indiana.
yeah, so members of Ja Morant, of the star of the Memphis Grizzlies, his associates, we'll call it, were involved with an incident with
Excuse me,
the
Memphis. It was in Memphis.
okay, with the Indiana Pacers traveling staff. I'm not entirely sure what that consists of, but Ja Morant's friends or associates or whatever got into it with these members on the Pacers, and then later, reportedly with Ja Morant in an SUV, they drove by the Pacers, these same staff members, very slowly and trained a like red laser pointer on them, which we would hope was a red laser pointer and not anything what it would allude to there, but something really disturbing. Again, reportedly Ja was in the car. The NBA is looking into it. Certainly, Ja's not really been really convincing, in my opinion, trying to clear his name here, but just certainly something that's rather troubling, dude. Especially, obviously, this behavior from anyone is certainly troubling, but this Memphis team's kind of imploding in the last couple weeks. If you see what we alluded to with Dylan Brooks a couple weeks ago, and some other stuff here. This real again, I don't know how many times I can say troubling, but just man, this is weird.
I I'll take what Unc said. That's Shannon Sharp for those that don't know. Ja, you're not this dude. You're not tough. You're not this dude. You're tough on the court. You didn't come from this background. There's no reason to act tough or do any of these antics or act like you're about that life. You're not. One of the Pacers security guard said at that point in time it was 100% a gun. If that is the case, I think Ja needs to get a wake up call from the NBA, and I hope they scare the shit out of him.
100%. This is some Aaron Hernandez shit, dude.
I don't want anything to happen to him because he is absolutely one of my favorite players in the NBA.
We've said that a million times. 100%.
I don't want anything to happen to him, but I want them to scare. It's like a parent moment with your child. Sam, you have kids, so you're gonna get where I'm coming from, and we've also been kids ourselves. There's been a moment in your life that your parents had said something that scared the absolute piss out of you, right? And you're like, oh, like, should probably think about this before I do this if I'm ever in a situation like that, right? Hence the fact I never ever had Project X house parties at my house because I knew if my parents came home and saw that house look different from when they left, I would not be here to do this podcast. It would have never existed, at least from my end of this, because I would have been 6 feet under. He needs to have a come to God moment. The NBA needs to scare him like this could be taken away from you because you're doing idiotic things and hanging out with whatever your dumb friends are doing. You're putting yourself in a position that is going to spiral you out of control. Now, I don't know if there's been any other instances like this. I know there's been a lot of confrontation with the Grizzlies and a lot of people. They're essentially the most hated team in the NBA, but I just hope Ja doesn't allow this to become a trend and this is a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Because if it does, we could see another young career sideline before he gets to his max potential. And I definitely do not want to see that because he is absolutely electrifying anytime he steps on the court. So I pray he has this come to Jesus moment. I do.
Yeah, I didn't. I totally agree with that. I'm just looking at you. You sent me an article from the Athletic. I'm looking at this video, like this sideline video of them. Some of John Morant's guys getting into it or something like that. But I wasn't aware of what Shannon Sharp said. I don't know too much about John Morant other than the Murray State and not getting offers and the what we see on the court. So I can't speak to that, but yeah, he's this is hopefully you are the company you keep in a way.
Yeah.
And I just hope this is a one-off thing. And again, if they're saying it was a gun, Jesus, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, say it wasn't. They're just trying to act tough. But yeah, certainly something we'll keep an eye on. And I don't think I could say it better than you. Just truly a talent in this league, and want to see it certainly go south there, but keep an eye on it. That said, there's something else happening this weekend. It's the Super Bowl. Continuing your fever dream here of just an interesting week. Hayes, your team is 5 days away from the Super Bowl. How do you feel right now?
I guess you forgot what I said at the beginning of the show.
I'm getting an update. I heard you.
No. There's no update to get, Sam. God damn it. I'm still anxious. I'm nervous. There is no update about this. I'm still sitting here rocking, sweating. My palms have been sweaty since they won. I might need to see a doctor for this shit. I don't know how to feel. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. On a scale of 1 to 10 on confidence, I'm 6.5 because I know Patrick Mahomes is on the other damn side. But I also know Patrick Mahomes has not faced a pass rush like this all year. So I'm nervous. I don't know what Jalen's going to bring. I'm nervous, Sam. I'm just nervous. Okay? There you go.
And that was Inside Brandon's Brain, brought to you by
I'm nervous.
Something. Yeah, man. Big game going on, Kansas City and Philadelphia in Arizona. We talked about it a little bit last week. Obviously, you're picking the Eagles here. You're nervous. I originally wanted to ask you the keys to the game for both teams, but I just don't know how nervous you are. How could both teams win this game?
Travis Kelce.
He's good at football.
The Chiefs.
Yeah.
They can win this game with Travis Kelce because the Eagles' weakness is over the middle and their linebackers. If Patrick Mahomes is able to get the ball out quickly, that could be an advantage for them. But that is, in my opinion, right now, the only person he can truly get the ball to because their receiving core is not the greatest, number one, even though they've kind of come on a little bit, not really too much. But we also don't know how healthy they are because they were all on the injury report. And Mecole Hardman is put on the IR, correct?
Yeah, he's done. Yeah.
So they lose him. They still have Juju, which Juju kind of put a target on his back by saying the best Philly cheesesteak is not from Philly. Why you give them more ammunition is just stupid. But Juju can't. This was the perfect time to test Juju to see if he grew up, in my opinion. And we haven't heard from him all year.
Did he say this at media day?
Yeah.
Did he say it at media day?
Yes, of course. Of course.
I didn't hear him say that.
You don't hear from him the whole year. And it's like, okay, Juju's finally grown up. You haven't really heard anything because he really hasn't been relevant.
He's
and then,
really
of course,
kept quiet all year. Yeah.
Yeah. Until he gets to the biggest stage and says, yeah, the worst cheesesteaks are the best cheesesteaks aren't from Philly. And they said,
where'd he say the best
from? He said, I don't know, not Philly, and laughed. And it was just like, you're the corniest of corny, sir. But whatever. You do what you got to do. So it's for me, it's for their offense is Kelce and obviously Mahomes, right? We already know Mahomes is a key factor.
Of course.
But then the defensive side is, can their D-line, can Chris Jones and that D-line get to Jalen Hurts? Because they're going against, statistically, the best line in the NFL.
100%.
right? And not even statistically, it's been proven because Jalen hasn't really been touched, right? So if Jalen can sit back there all day, the way the Eagles can win is by Jalen throwing the ball because the Chiefs secondary isn't the greatest. They've come on hot recently with Spags. His teams always seem to heat up towards the playoffs. Yep. It's wild. I know this used to be for the Eagles too, so I know all about Spags and what he does.
Love Spags.
I do too. So his teams have started to pick it up, but Jalen can pick you apart. And these guys are their secondary is full of a lot of rookies. Right. And so what the offense that the Eagles run, even the Niners, who were considered to be the number one defense going into that championship game, they couldn't even stop that offense. And Jalen didn't even throw more than 160 yards.
Yeah. And they were at a disadvantage because they were on the field way too much.
They were. But that's one way the Eagles could win. Obviously, their run game, and also their defensive line. But they could lose with that secondary too, because at times Darius Slay and Bradbury, even though they've showed up a lot this season, they've disappeared sometimes. And they allowed some things to happen, and I don't think that is a good recipe. But I just really feel, Sam, honestly, I know this is going to sound biased. This is my team. I really just feel like who outside of Kelce, like if the Eagles are able to take Kelce away, and what I mean by that is if they can rush for and clog up the middle to cover Kelce, who is Mahomes going to go to? That's the thing that I keep thinking about. Who is he going to go to? Now, obviously, he's a phenomenal in talent, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time already.
Yeah, at 27.
Who even with all the talent he has, who can he get the ball to in this situation? And that's where I'm really curious to see, because if they can get Kelce, the Eagles are going to have a hard time all day.
Yeah, it's the MVS has had some bigger moments that I thought he was capable of, and Aaron Rodgers probably sitting at home like, what the hell, but there's that. He's shown up at times, I think Kelce's definitely X factor. Obviously, you come into every game, Travis Kelce is a problem. Talk about an all-time great. But I what really bothers me, but I really think is a huge disadvantage, is Kansas City's running game. Now they activated CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire from the IR. He hasn't played. Yeah, pups. He hasn't played since week 11 with a high ankle sprain. Ironically, what Patrick Mahomes is playing with now. And it's Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round pick from Rutgers, will beat you up, and is all in the inside. He's also one of the fastest dudes in the league. But this running game's inconsistent, and I think that's totally going to be the X factor, because I said it last week. I will never doubt Patrick Mahomes again. I saw it. We all saw it. I said he's, with the exception of Brett Favre, he's the best quarterback the Jets have ever had, if he was a Jet, like on one leg. Like, it's no doubt. But it's just wild to think of how good the Eagles' rushing game is, and that offensive line is, and when you compare it to what we're seeing in Kansas City. And then on the opposite, Frank Clark is there. Chris Jones had a hell of a game against a banged up Cincinnati line. And he's not going to get those same looks if these guys are playing the way that they could. And there's a lot to play for on that line and in this game here. And I think I was leaning, I don't know if I publicly said this, but I was leaning Kansas City last week. I'm moving the ball over. I think the Eagles are going to
win. Nice to join me.
Yeah. With the exception of head coach and quarterback, I think the Eagles are a better team. Now, those are two big spots, obviously. And, head coaching is huge and quarterback play is huge. And no disrespect to Jalen. you know how I feel about Jalen Hurts. I don't get a lot of the slander, but and he's not entirely healthy. I'm not convinced he's healthy. But with the exception of those two positions, the Eagles are just a better team.
I 100% am going to tell you this right now. Jalen Hurts is going to show out in this game because of that exact thought process. And this is not me faulting you. I understand. And don't worry, I'm also weary of seeing the accuracy since his arm, but I think he's now had a bunch of time to rest.
Sure.
Time to reevaluate, get ready to game plan for this. I think you are going to see the Jalen Hurts that you saw earlier in the year. And I think that young man is more than ready for this. I know he's going to rise in the moment, and I know he's going to put people on notice. But like he's bringing all the receipts with him to this game. Let's just put it that way. He's bringing a folder of receipts, and he's going to make sure that he lays it out and lets people know at the end. So, yeah, I'm just nervous and anxious. That's
so what's going on Sunday? Like, what's your setup? What are you doing? Talk me through the day, because I've only watched one Super Bowl in my life that has meant anything to me, and that's when Drew Brees won Super Bowl. I say Drew Brees and not the Saints. So this is your second Super Bowl in a couple years. Obviously, your third Super Bowl you're watching. Oh, you already got you have the
This is
last
the 2017 one. Yep.
Wearing a 2017 champion hat.
Yep.
Look at that. So talk me through your day. What's going on? What are you doing? What contact will you have with the outside world? The people want to know.
Not much contact with the outside. Actually, I'll be talking to people up till the game. During the day, I'm gonna have a nice, relaxing day. Might go for a little walk when I wake up in the morning.
Okay.
You know, prep what I'm gonna have to eat and stuff like that. There's only a select few people that are allowed to come into the domain. You're one of them if you'd like to.
Thank you, sir.
But probably gonna be some pizza.
All right.
Probably gonna be some wings and some chips.
All right.
Definitely gonna be looking at my bar cart with some bourbon. There's gonna be some old fashions made.
Nice.
There's also some juice bomb in my fridge, so that'll probably be drank too. But I will put my Eagles flag right around me.
Look at that, baby.
Get ready. There might be another video of me crying again if they win.
That will be posted if that happens.
It will. I don't mind it. Yeah, I just plan on having a very nice and peaceful day until 6:30 comes around, and then the stress will ensue. It will 100% be there for me, and I'm just gonna take it on the chin and just roll with it. It just kind of is what it is at that point. So yeah,
sounds like a good time. We'll try to keep the stress level low for you.
Thanks.
Just report in to us if I don't see you. No, yeah, Super Bowl 57, obviously Sunday on Fox, 6:30 Eastern. Just it's crazy that we are that the NFL season's almost over, man. Love it. But some other news in the NFL. I guess we'll get to some coaching updates. Sean Payton was introduced well, I guess Monday as the new Broncos coach. And it sounded like he was surprised that to learn that Russell Wilson has his own personal QB coach, and basically said he will not be in the facility. So Sean Payton was pretty he said some good things about Russ and some things that needed to change, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was interesting. Not that I don't agree with it. And there's been some former players of Sean Payton basically saying, you gotta give a little bit here. You gotta buy in if you're Russ, and he will find your strengths and help you if you're ready to buy in. So I think this will certainly be a interesting relationship. I know both of these guys want to win, and
I just don't like how they're creating this like power struggle already, like in the media. Like it's just it's not even a thing to me. I just think this doesn't happen with any other team. Like you've never heard this with any other team because it's not a thing that really exists. Teams don't care if you have your own personal coach outside of it that may train you outside of facility. Tom Brady's always had that, but they don't come into the facility, right? And I think they gave Russ whatever he wanted because they just paid him this big ass contract. And Nathaniel Hackett, it was his first year, so he kind of took advantage of that, if that is the case. But if this was Do You Care, I would absolutely say I don't care about this. We can move on.
I don't care about either. And I think to the point of this quote unquote power struggle, I think it was brought up last year again, as certainly stuff leaking out to attack Russ, stuff leaking out to attack the coaching staff, go after them, paint both of them wrongly. Yeah, I mean, famously, Brady's people were no longer allowed in Foxborough when that was all happening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised by any of that, but I think this will be interesting to see. Denver just paid Peyton a lot of money. They inherited Russ Wilson in this contract, and they can't really get out of it, and they're just going to have to make this work. And certainly it's not like Russell Wilson is beyond repair here, especially the last couple games of the season. He looked like, the guy we're used to seeing. And I think Sean's whole premise of his press conference, I listened to some of it, was, all right, we have to get back to what made this guy great, what won this guy's Super Bowl, and or at least what he could do, and just tailor our game plan to that, and go from there. So I don't disagree with any of that. Some couple interesting defensive coordinator hires. Reported yesterday that Minnesota is hiring former Miami Dolphins head coach and defensive, I don't know if he was a coordinator, but he was on the Steelers staff last year, Brian Flores, as their new DC. Hell of a move there, I think, especially when you have a young head coach and an offensive minded head coach. I think this is a great move to just, all right, I don't have to worry that much about the defense here. This defense will get better. This defense will play more discipline. And I'm a fan of Brian Flores, and I think this move is definitely going to help the Vikings.
Vikings just got better.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt there. And on a similar page here, the 49ers lost DeMeco Ryans, their DC, to the Houston Texans. He's their new head coach. Previously have lost other guys, right? And they just get better and better. Steve Wilks, who was the DC in Carolina and then became the interim head coach when Matt Rule was fired. He didn't get the Carolina job, but he's the new DC of the 49ers. Again, rich get richer here. It's a great move. Well-regarded coach in this league, and defensively a really good coach, knows what he's doing, and Niners aren't going to miss a beat here. So I don't know if to say they get better, but they're good.
I'm happy that Steve Wilks was able to just bounce right back after being an interim head coach for the Panthers. You and I both thought that he would have a chance for head coach.
Yeah.
Seemed not to be the case, especially with the guys. I still don't leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I do love that Frank Reich is a head coach still too, because I have a love for him, but I still wish it was Steve Wilks over him. But super happy for DeMeco. Did you see the video of him arriving?
Yeah,
it was
you shared that
super
with me.
love.
That was
awesome. I love that. Again, as a guy that used to be in that building and has been well received everywhere he's gone. So shout out to him for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was a really cool video. I think it was the Texans posted that on social media. Check that out. He walked into the facility and everybody was cheering for him. It was really cool. And a moment in coaching news that made me literally laugh out loud. Kellen Moore has been replaced in Dallas as an offensive coordinator. As we mentioned last week, he's going to Los Angeles Chargers. Said San Diego. Brian Schottenheimer is their new OC. I laughed out loud as a Jets fan, and so I'm not a Brian Schottenheimer fan. So that'll certainly be interesting in Dallas. It's assumed that Mike McCarthy will continue to, or will be, calling plays. But thoughts on the the new Cowboys OC?
I think it's dumb, but it doesn't shock me because it's dumb moves that the Cowboys make. You literally been in the top 5 of offense in like the past in 3 separate occasions in the past 5 years, and you get rid of the offensive coordinator. I just think it's dumb. It's not the offensive coordinator. Like he's done that. Like, yes, there's been some stupid calls, but whatever. I don't Brian Schottenheimer, I've looked at his like track record and it's not been great. So uh go ahead, Dallas. Keep doing what
Yeah,
you do best. Love you.
certainly. I don't fault him that much in Seattle, kind of seeing what Russ Wilson will do when you quote let him cook, but certainly a run heavy coach. Uh, did a lot of that in Seattle and certainly in New York. Um, and there's a lot of uncertainty with this Cowboys team. Don't necessarily think Dak is broken. Led the league or was tied for the league lead and picks this year. Didn't even play a full season. Um, and Zeke, there's a lot of speculation he's going to be cut or not be on this team or restructured or whatever. And Tony Pollard is not only, has broken fibula, he's a free agent. So a lot of things going on there. I still think I love CeeDee Lamb as do you. I think he needs a running mate. I don't necessarily think Michael Gallup's that dude.
They had him. His name was Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I don't. But again, it's what happens when you can't pay all these dudes. We've talked about it. They made one bad move and this you got to make other moves to make up for it, and it becomes a mess. But yeah, so I laughed out loud, so I thought you would enjoy that. But I was saving this for Do You Care? But I guess it is kind of a big deal. Not as big of a deal as last year, but the GOAT called it quits again. Tom Brady hung it up on an Instagram post, I believe last Wednesday morning, right after our pod dropped. Just basically saying it's for real this time and thanking everyone and then that's it. He's retired, I guess, and good for him. So thoughts on Tom Brady hanging it up again?
Thanks for all you gave to the game, and I'm happy to see you gone.
Yes.
I was happy to see him gone last year. I wish he would have just left when he got his last ring, but of course these guys are so competitive they don't know when to give it up, and I wish he would have then. The gifts, the memes that came out immediately after have absolutely had me in tears. So I appreciate all of y'all on the internet. The internet is still undefeated. Go check those out if you haven't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, good for him. I mean, he's got a 10-year, $375 million deal with Fox Sports. Tom is fine. Tom just made up the money that he gave up throughout his whole career. He just made up a majority of that with just this deal. He'll be fine. I'm sure he's going to get more sponsorships. He's got a movie coming out like in the next couple of weeks. So Tom is fine. Tom will be all right.
I think it came out. That said, yeah, he's made more money. He's going to make more money on this Fox deal than he did in his career, which not by a lot, but still that's something to be said. Did you see the story about the sand?
The sand?
You know how you saw the retirement video? It was on a beach in Miami. I'm assuming it's Miami. I think that's where he lives. And in the background's like his condo or whatever. And he said he just plopped himself down on the beach, hit record on, whatever he did in video and did it. Someone went and bottled the sand and put it on eBay. And the last I checked, it was at 90 grand. So then I went on eBay. I'm on eBay a lot looking at, sports cards and different things. I'm looking on eBay and there was a ton of like copycat postings right after that. So I didn't find that one. I didn't really look that hard, but 90 grand. It's probably just people trolling at this point, but I'd hope someone wouldn't spend 90 grand on sand. But hey.
Well, yeah, just move on.
This is real, man. This is real. Google it.
I
dude.
got nothing for that. It's just goofball qualities right there. Can we get to UFC?
UFC quarter. Go ahead.
UFC.
I'm gonna watch this week.
Saturday, 284. the main card, lightweight champion, Islam. Can never pronounce his last name. Against Alexander Volkanovski. When I say that this is going to be an absolute brawl, this is to unify the lightweight championship belt. This is going to be a brawl, like 100%. I cannot wait for this fight. I know there's some other fights on here, and Sam put them up here. They're going to be great too. Yair Rodriguez, Josh Emmett, phenomenal co-main event. I don't give a damn about any of those other fights. The only fight I care about is the main event. I'm going to watch it all, but I can literally go the whole night not watching any of this and just waiting to that main event because that would be worth it. I might take a nap just to get some energy, watch the card halfway through because it's going to go to like 1 a.m. And I know the next day I'm just going to have a whole bunch of energy that I need to conserve until, the end of the game. But that fight, thus far, any fight, I know it's early in the year, this is the fight of the year. It's probably going to be one of the top 3 fights of the year, period. I don't care what card is going to come out outside of my boy John Bones Jones coming back, but that's something else in itself. Definitely watch this on Saturday night. It's going to be a slobber knocker. Shout out to Jim Ross.
Are you proud of me for putting in the rundown all
absolutely,
of this info on UFC?
Absolutely not. It took you way too long to do this. So absolutely not. No.
If you could see our
rundown, folks. Absolutely not, Sam.
What? You're not impressed with me?
No.
Usually I don't put anything in here. And
well, I'm still not impressed with you. It took, 2 damn years for you to do this?
But I did it.
Oh, God.
It happened.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I guess. Sure. We'll go with that.
And I watched the last UFC pay-per-view. Don't ask me who was fighting.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ask me who was fighting. I don't remember, but I watched it. I did.
You get better. You're a slow starter. I get it.
Hey, I got there. 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2 years, exactly. 87 episodes. I'm here, baby.
Ridiculous.
Don't know who won. Don't know who fought. Don't know where it was.
And he asked me if I'm proud of him. Anyway, get to Do You Care, man. Let's go.
Let's go. Anyway, Do You Care? Here's something that we don't talk about often, but we should. WNBA free agency. The GOAT, Candace Parker, is joining Aja Wilson and the defending champion, Las Vegas Aces. And, she spent the last couple years with her hometown team, the Sky, and before that, obviously, with the Sparks. And the powerhouse teams are forming in the WNBA because
super teams
are happening. Because shortly after that, Stewie herself, Breanna Stewart, is joining our New York Liberty. And, they already got Sabrina and Jones from the Connecticut Sun, Jonquel Jones. Who won the MVP a couple years ago, and the arms race in the WNBA has begun. I'm very excited about this. Do I care? Yes. Am I more excited than I should be? I don't know, because you're the only one that has shared the enthusiasm back with me. Everyone else is like, what the hell? What? Who? Someone asked, one of my very close friends was like, who's Breanna Stewart?
Excuse me?
Yeah. And
hold on. Let me be fair.
Yeah.
Let me be fair. Dame did the same damn thing too. So I'm airing Dame out. I don't give a damn. Any chance I get air Dame out,
I will not air my friend out.
Yeah, I will. But this is the friendship that we have. But no, he's obviously one of my best friends in the world. But
yeah,
he can take.
You got to do better, Dave. You got to do better.
You do.
She's one of the most decorated college athletes of all time.
Easily,
and a pro as well.
I was about to say one of the most decorated basketball players of all time, period.
Totally fair.
Stewie coming to the Liberty, shout out to KD for that too, because he definitely, I'm sure, was a little catalyst in this because he has a relationship with her as well too. To get Stewie to come and play with our girl Sabrina, shout out to her, by the way, because we never spoke about this. She did get engaged not too long ago. So shout out to her. Her fiance plays for the Raiders, if I remember correctly, as a lineman.
Offensive lineman,
yeah. So shout out to her. But just that combo alone and Jones also coming over, they're building a super team, and I just love that. So we got to get out there this year to
going,
go
man.
to a
Brooklyn.
game for sure. Like I 100% want to see that, and I want to get a jersey this year, a Sabrina jersey for sure. Candace Parker, I have a love for Candace Parker. She's such a beautiful woman. I was super attractive and still attracted to her. But I love her game. I love what she's done. I love how she's been an advocate. Her as an analyst is also awesome too. To join the Aces and still have this career, I think she is going to be a huge part for them. And I would not be surprised if we saw these two teams in the finals. Would not be.
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
totally.
Would not
And
be.
I heard today that she's going to do the
Commentary.
color commentary on the All-Star game,
That's
which
dope.
would be the first woman commentator
Let's
in
go.
the All-Star game, which is awesome. I read that right before we got together today. So that's dope. Again, I mean, two awesome moves for the WNBA, and I think certainly ushering in or getting more attention on the sport, even though it's been 25 years or whatever, but continuing to grow as they have is certainly important. And
Agreed.
totally behind it. We will definitely make our way to Brooklyn to see these Liberty play for sure. Last, do you care? No, we a little long today, but big show. Hey, the Pro Bowl games happened. Do you care?
Yes. The flag football game was fun to watch.
That was fun. Yeah.
I didn't watch anything else. I watched the one where the big guys, the linemen, were taking the weights off into the basket and then moving around and pulling the wall together. That, and then also like the obstacle course that had like the linemen, the running backs, and then the linebacker.
I didn't see that one.
That was pretty cool. But I mean, my favorite part of it was the flag football game because it was still so competitive. And it was, you got to see guys that are elusive. Like you could see the hand-eye coordination because I play flag football, and to be able to get somebody that is fast and shifty, that can move their hips to the side and do that, and have them play by the rules that we play, and still be able to snatch the flag from somebody that is that fast as like a Tyreek Hill, is super impressive to see. But it was also super impressive to see the competitiveness that was still in there. The winning conference got 82,000. The losing got 42,000 a player. But I also love to see Peyton and Eli go at it. Peyton was
pissed
all in committed,
Yeah.
but that's what made him so good at what he was doing.
And he doesn't want to lose to Eli.
Of course not.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He said, I don't want to have to hear from him for a whole year. Well, now he's going to have to, because
Eli's already running his mouth. I love it. He's
Of
like,
course.
I'm the superior
Manning
coach.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great.
He knows.
I'm surprised we only saw one big hit that Jalen Ramsey hit on Tyreek, because it's the instinct here of like, that's what these guys, they've been training their whole lives. So like, that was a football move that I don't think that was intentional at all. Like
it wasn't. It wasn't.
Just, you're going full speed. You're trying to. He's the fastest dude in the league. You're just trying to like.
Well,
get him down.
I remember. I don't know if you saw. Did you see the whole play or did you just see the hit?
I saw the whole play.
Okay, so just to give the audience, it was Davante Adams taking a crossing route almost to the Baja, aka the end zone, giving you some terminology, almost to the Baja, and then he pitched it back to Tyreek, who was there. Jalen was already running full speed trying to catch Davante Adams, and he pitches it back to Tyreek. Jalen couldn't stop, so he basically shoulder checked him and decleated him, and it was absolutely crazy. Also, Tyreek Hill is the MVP of this whole weekend, because the interviews that he was doing with his microphone, walking around and asking people if they thought they were faster than him, to say two nice things about the Dolphins, all the questions that he asked, it was absolutely hilarious. He is a gym, protects him at all costs.
I would disagree, because I'm not a fan of Tyreek Hill off the field, but it's good. The interaction with like Ray Lewis and other dudes was that was fun to watch for sure.
It was.
There's some things in Tyreek Hill's past that I can't and won't ignore, but that said, it was fun content for sure. He's a funny dude, and the guys, we're giving it right back to him, and that's cool to see. It's cool to see like people who like want to be there, it's not, they're not getting a free trip to Hawaii anymore. And this is an experiment for the NFL, but it was cool. I didn't watch every event, as you mentioned, like that obstacle course thing. I didn't see a lot of the dodgeball, which I think I would generally be interested in. But that I saw the best catch thing.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you saw that, but
I did.
I wasn't a fan of it, mainly because
It was trash.
it didn't work. It wasn't working. It was new, obviously, so there's some growing pains there, but it was not good television. It was kind of like when you get really bad dunkers in a dunk contest,
Yes.
and clearly these are some of the best hands in the NFL, right? I mean, you have Stephon Diggs struggling, and Mike Vick is throwing passes to you, and you're like, you know, and Amon and EQ St. Brown trying to do like it could have been better. I wouldn't be surprised if that's revamped or disappears. But overall, a fun afternoon of football. It was cool to see.
Yeah, I'd say so. They can do away with the best catch that never needs to happen ever again. Thank you.
And that's it. Episode 87 of the Chasing Points podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And follow us on Instagram at Chasing Points Podcast. For Brandon, who will be in nerves until Sunday evening, I'm Sam. Thanks so much for listening. Go Birds.
I'm going to let everybody listens to the Chasing Points podcast know that if the Eagles are victorious, come Wednesday when you hear this podcast, you will hear me gloat so much. If you are any fan of a rival team, I suggest you not show up to this podcast that day. I want you to listen. So just play it for like 12 minutes or just fast forward through it. We might even timestamp it so you can get past my rant, but that's going to be hard because I'm going to make sure I drop little Easter eggs throughout the whole damn episode and some very, very blatant things. If the Eagles just so happen to lose, Sam, you are on your own. I will not be here. And on that note,
so you're not going to show up.
Yep.
But you'll gloat, but
Yep.
you won't show up if they lose.
Yep. You heard me, Sam. You heard me. You got 2 ears, right?
I just want to clarify.
God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen. Bye, everybody.